viewers. What you are about to watch is a true story presented for educational purposes. The following program contains content some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
We began with a community grieving after a mass shooting in Louisiana. 10 people were shot in Shreveport, 8 were killed, all of them children.
There are 8 children that are deceased. I can't be strong for you. I think about the mother and what this family has lost. I think about this community and what this community has lost.
8 children are asleep inside a house on West 79th Street. The youngest is 3 years old. The oldest is 11. And the man who is about to kill them has already been inside a house 1 block away. He is driving toward them right now. Here is what nobody knows yet. A threat naming these exact children was made 3 years ago. It was never reported to a single authority. And by the time police received the first call, most of those children are already gone, shot in their sleep. The rear door of the house has bullet holes in it. The evidence tells investigators that at least some of the children woke up and tried to get out. They did not make it. 8 children, 5 girls, 3 boys, ages 3 to 11. All of them dead before Cedar Grove finished waking up on what should have been an ordinary Sunday morning in Shreveport, Louisiana. Before this story begins, here is what this case actually is. It is not just a story about a man who killed his children. It is a story about 5 separate data points that existed across 5 separate systems before April 19, 2026. A 2019 firearms conviction that legally barred him from owning a weapon until 2029. A suicide attempt in February followed by a VA hospitalization and discharge back into unchanged conditions. A 2023 death threat made against his wife and children that was known privately by family and never reported to any authority. A divorce court date set for the morning after. And a man living in the same house who had asked him directly whether he needed to go back to the hospital. 5 doors. Every one of them stayed closed. 8 children paid for every single one. If cases like this matter to you, the kind that demand more than a 3-minute segment, subscribe to Twisted Truths. This is exactly what we are here for. Soraya Snow was 11 years old, and she already knew what she wanted to do with her life. She wanted to open a homeless shelter. That was her plan. An 11-year-old girl in Cedar Grove, Shreveport, Louisiana, who had looked at the world around her, seen people who had nowhere to go, and decided she was going to be the one who fixed that. Her little brothers Braylon and Kadarian, 5 and 6, were going to be community leaders. That was what they told people. That was the dream those boys were already carrying around inside them before they were old enough to read a chapter book. These were not abstract ideas invented after the fact to make grief easier to carry. These were real plans belonging to real children who had a summer coming. Braylon and Kadarian had been enrolled at the Johnny Cochran Head Start in Cedar Grove. Their teacher described Kadarian as an outgoing spirit who lit up every room he entered. The 3 Snow children, Soraya, Braylon, Kadarian, had been excited about attending summer camp together that year. They were going to learn new skills. They were going to spend time as a family. They had a summer ahead of them. 1 block away on the other side of a street neither family thought twice about crossing. 4 more of his children were asleep in bunk beds under colorful quilts. They had no idea what was coming either. Nobody on that block did. And that is the part of this case that should never stop being asked about. Jayla Elkins was 3, Shayla was 5, Kayla was 6, Layla was 7. Their cousin Marketon Pugh was 10, the kind of boy his father Troy talked about throwing a football with, ordinary and irreplaceable in the way all children are. And Marketon's 12-year-old sister Markiana was there too. Old enough to understand what was happening when it began. Young enough that she should never have had to make the decision she made in the dark that morning. 2 households, 1 block between them, 7 children sharing a father. 1 cousin who happened to be in the wrong house on the wrong night. Their mothers, Shaniqua Pooh and Christina Snow, had built something remarkable across that 1 block distance. By 2024, they were co-parenting with genuine warmth. Christina had posted publicly that she loved Shaniqua as her children's bonus mom. Shaniqua had reshared it. In 2025, Christina posted again about being glad they were all doing what was best for the kids. These were 2 women who had chosen the children over everything else. The man who connected them had a different idea about how this ended. Shamarr Elkins was born on December 7, 1994 in Shreveport, Louisiana. He never left. Cedar Grove was his neighborhood, his block, his entire world. His biological mother, Mahalia, gave birth to him as a teenager while battling a crack cocaine addiction. She could not raise him. A family friend named Betty Walker stepped in and became the woman who actually raised Shamarr from childhood. Walker was his stability and his foundation. Mahalia and Shamarr only reconnected years later when he was already an adult and already a soldier. At 18, he enlisted in the Louisiana Army National Guard. He served 7 years as a signal support system specialist and a fire support specialist. Both roles involved weapons systems, coordinating firepower, operating under pressure in high-stakes environments. He was never deployed overseas. He left in August 2020 as a private, the lowest enlisted rank, and came back to Cedar Grove with no documented transition support on public record. 7 years of military training, then civilian life with nothing to bridge between the two. He went to work at UPS. His co-worker Willie Vasher described him to the New York Times as someone who appeared to be a devoted family man. But Vasher also noticed something he could not explain away. A bald spot on Elkins's head, not from genetics, from stress. He pulled his own hair out throughout the workday, strand by strand, every single shift. His family had noticed it too. Everyone around him could see it. Nobody asked what it meant. Shenikwapu was choosing him. That was the thing nobody should lose sight of. She was choosing him. When they first got together, when she had considered leaving early on, and he told her what he would do if she did, she heard that and she stayed. She did not stay because she was foolish. She stayed because the research on intimate partner violence is consistent and unambiguous on this point. The period of attempted separation is statistically the most dangerous time for a victim. Women in these situations make a calculation every single day between what staying costs and what leaving might cost. And that calculation is not irrational. It is survival math. She stayed. She married him in April 2024. She chose the father of her children, the man her daughters knew, the life they had built together in that house on West 79th Street. And when she finally reached a point where she could no longer stay, when she filed for divorce citing infidelity.
So I know that there was some infidelity she didn't necessarily express it to me, but I do know that she came to me and she asked me about helping her properly file for divorce. And to my understanding, prior to this incident, they were scheduled to go to court on Monday, which was the next day. My cousin did express that, he was augmentative about it, so he was having arguments with her about it, but there was no physical anything that was going on, not prior to what went on Sunday.
And it was actually the same month, probably like 20 years ago, a crossfire. And now they got to relive this same tragedy, 20 years ago.
Social media post 9 days before the shooting that said, "For the first time in my life, I am choosing me, my peace, and my freedom." She captioned it with 3 words. This is the one. She was not doing anything wrong. She was trying to live. The threat he had made in 2023, "If you take the children and leave, I will kill you, kill the children, and kill myself," that threat had never been reported. It had never entered any database. When she finally moved toward the exit, every door the system had to protect her was closed because nobody had ever opened them. Saturday, April 18, 2026. The afternoon before, Freddie Montgomery, the neighbor who lives across the street from the West 79th Street house, walks past and sees Shamarr Elkins sitting on his front porch. The children are playing in the yard. Elkins is watching them. The 2 men wave at each other. Montgomery will later tell CNN there was nothing in that moment, nothing at all, that suggested anything was wrong. That same evening, Elkins takes his eldest daughter out to dinner. Just the 2 of them. He posts about it on social media with laughing emojis. Shaniqua reshares the post and writes, "That's what's wrong with her now. He spoils her. As long as she's happy, I'm happy." That post goes up the night before he kills her siblings. At 9 in the evening, Troy Brown leaves for his night shift. Elkins is calm on the front porch, joking around as Brown backs the car out of the driveway. Imagine watching Troy Brown back his car out of that driveway. Imagine being the last adult in that neighborhood to see those children alive and not knowing it, not having any reason to know it. Just a man going to work on a Saturday night while a 10-year-old waves from inside. Brown's nephew Marketon is inside that house, alive, 10 years old. Nobody on that street knows they have just waved their final goodbye to 8 children. What happened between 9 in the evening and 5 in the morning has not been fully documented in any public source. What is confirmed is where Elkins went when those hours ended. At approximately 5 in the morning on Sunday, April 19, 2026, he arrives at Christina Snow's address on Harrison Street, 1 block away. According to her family, she had no warning. He shoots her 9 times. Despite injuries her family describe as life-threatening, she is conscious. She uses Siri to call 911. She gives investigators a full account of what happened at her door before sunrise. He then takes her 3 children and drives 1 block to West 79th Street. Inside that house, 7 more children are asleep. He moves through it with what police spokesperson Chris Bordelon will later confirm looked like quiet, methodical efficiency. Most of the children are shot in their sleep. Most are shot in the head. 7 are found inside the house. 1 child is found on the back roof. Bullet holes in the rear door tell investigators that at least some of the children woke up and tried to find a way out. They tried to get out. 1 person makes it. Kosha Poo, Shaniqua's sister who lives in that house, grabs her 12-year-old daughter, Markiana, and runs for the roof. She calls a family member while the attack is still happening below her. Both she and Markiana jump. Both sustain broken bones. Both survive. At 5:55 a.m., Shreveport police receive the first call. By the time officers clear the house at 6:43 a.m., 8 children are confirmed dead. The divorce court date is the following morning. It never happens. Let's go back to 2019. Shamarr Elkins is 24 years old. He is arrested near Caddo Magnet High School in Shreveport. According to a police report cited by KTB's, he pulls a 9mm handgun from his waistband and fires 5 rounds at a vehicle approximately 300 feet from the school. Children are playing outside when those shots land. He claims the driver pointed a gun at him first. He pleads guilty to illegal use of a weapon. The school property charge is dismissed. He receives 18 months of probation. Under Louisiana law, that conviction legally bars him from possessing any firearm until at least 2029. Not a suggestion, a hard legal prohibition on record. He walks away with his freedom intact and eventually finds his way back to a weapon. The system had him. It had his name, his conviction, his prohibition, and it never connected that information to anything that came after. Let's go back to 2023. Shaniqua Poo considers leaving. She raises the possibility of taking the children and walking away. According to Betty Walker, the woman who raised Shamarr and who spoke directly to the New York Times, Elkins's response is immediate and explicit. He tells Shaniqua he will kill her. He will kill the children. He will kill himself. She hears this. She stays. He later tells her he was just playing. She stays. They marry in April 2024. That threat never reaches a police officer. It never enters a domestic violence database. It never appears in any court document. It sits as private family knowledge for nearly 3 years. Researchers who study intimate partner homicide are consistent on this. Explicit pre-separation death threats are among the strongest statistical predictors of lethal violence. They are not outbursts. They are declarations of ownership. Had that threat been reported in 2023, it would have been on file when he presented at the VA. It would have been relevant to the divorce proceeding. It would have triggered a lethality screening. It was not reported. None of those systems ever had it. Let's go back to February 2026. Shamarr Elkins tries to take his own life. This is confirmed by Betty Walker, who told the New York Times directly. After the attempt, he checks himself into the Veterans Affairs Hospital in Shreveport for mental health treatment. He walks in voluntarily. He stays approximately 10 days. He is discharged. Troy Brown, who lives in the same house and watches him return, asks directly, "Do you think you need to go back?" Elkins says he is fine. His exact words, "I'm just going to deal with it." Think about what Troy Brown did with that answer. He had just looked a man in the eye who had attempted suicide weeks earlier, heard him say he was fine, and went back to his life. Because what else do you do? What language do you use for something that has no name yet? Troy Brown was not failing him. He was doing what any of us would do. The failure was not in that room. It was in every system that should have been in that room and wasn't. 10 days after discharge, Elkins posts publicly on Facebook. He writes, "Dear God, today I ask you to help me guard my mind and my emotions. When negativity arises, remind me to say it does not belong to me." That post is visible to anyone reading his page. A man who had already attempted suicide once, recently discharged from psychiatric inpatient care, posting a public plea for God to guard his mind. And the question the VA has never publicly answered is whether a lethality screening was conducted before his discharge, whether the pending divorce was flagged as an elevated risk factor, whether his 2019 firearms conviction was ever cross-referenced with his discharge plan. As of today, no public answer to any of those questions. Let's go to Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2026, 2 weeks before the shooting. Elkins calls his mother Mahalia and his stepfather Marcus Jackson. He is in tears. He tells them Shaniqua has filed for divorce and that he is drowning in dark thoughts. Marcus tries to reassure him. Then Elkins says something Marcus cannot put down afterward. Some people don't come back from their demons. The call ends, no welfare check, no crisis line, no call to police. The New York Times noted that most families respond exactly this way, because most of the time a call like that does not end the way this one did. But here is what made this different, though the family could not see it. Behind that call sat the 2023 death threat, the VA discharge, the firearms prohibition, the divorce court date 2 weeks away. No single member of that family had access to the full picture. The systems that did have pieces of it were not talking to each other. And then on March 9th, 2026, 6 weeks before the shooting, Charles Ford notices that a Mossberg rifle-style pistol he owned is missing from under the seat of his truck. He suspects Elkins took it. He confronts him. Elkins becomes aggressive. Ford backs down. He says nothing to anyone. 6 weeks later, that Mossberg is inside the West 79th Street house. Remember the threat made in 2023. He told Shaniqua he would kill her, kill the children, kill himself. She heard it and made the calculation that staying was safer than leaving. She made that calculation without knowing about the 2019 firearms conviction, without knowing about the stolen Mossberg sitting under a seat 6 weeks away, without knowing that the VA had discharged him back into the same conditions that produced the crisis. She made that calculation with only the information she had. Every system that had the rest of the information was silent. And she was right about one thing. Leaving was the most dangerous thing she could do. She was right for the wrong reason. Ko Shapu is on the roof of the West 79th Street house at 5:55 a.m. She is calling from outside because she cannot go back inside. She is calling while it is still happening below her. She can hear it. She makes the call anyway. That call is the reason this story is being told at all. Because without it, there are no survivors inside that house to tell investigators anything. At 5:59 a.m., dispatch confirms the suspect's name. At 6:01 a.m., officers arrive. At 6:07 a.m., Harrison Street calls in. A woman shot 9 times has used Siri to reach 911. Her name is Christina Snow, and she is still conscious enough to give a full account of everything that happened at her door. At 6:10 a.m., dispatch links both addresses into one incident. At 6:43 a.m., officers clear the West 79th Street house. 7 children are found inside. 1 child is found dead on the back roof. Officers confirm bullet holes in the rear door. The children had tried. At 6:40 a.m., the vehicle Elkins carjacked after leaving the house is confirmed empty. The 3 Snow children are not inside. They were already inside the house on West 79th Street. At 7:03 a.m., Shamarr Elkins is pronounced dead in Bossier City. He drove to the home of a man named Michael Mayance, someone who had known him for 25 years. According to Mayance, they spoke for less than a minute. Then Elkins put the barrel of the weapon to his own mouth and fired. He took every answer with him. There is no courtroom in this case. Shamarr Elkins is dead. But the Department of Justice made clear from the first press conference that accountability did not end with the man who pulled the trigger. 2 days after the shooting, on April 21st, 2026, federal agents charged Charles Ford, 56 years old, a convicted felon, with felon in possession of a firearm and making false statements to federal agents. ATF traces the Mossberg rifle to its original legal purchaser, who confirms she gave it to Ford. Ford had kept it under the seat of his truck. He had suspected Elkins took it. He said nothing. He faces up to 15 years on the firearm charge and 5 additional years for lying to federal agents. On April 23, 2026, the DOJ announces a second federal charge. Michael Mayance, 54 years old, the man Elkins drove to at the end of the 68 minutes, is charged with illegally possessing firearms while subject to an active domestic violence protection order that had been in place since October 2024. Investigators execute a search warrant on his home and find multiple weapons. He faces up to 15 years. United States Attorney Zachary Keller stated plainly, accountability in this case does not stop with the person who pulled the trigger. 3 connected men, 3 sets of illegal weapons, 3 people legally prohibited from possession, all of them inside one social network in one city while 8 children were still alive. Imagine you are Kosha Poo. You are Shaniqua's sister. You live in that house on West 79th Street. You have already, 20 years ago in this same month of April, watched your mother be struck in a crossfire in this same city. You rebuilt your life from that. You married. You had children. You made a home in Cedar Grove. And then in the early hours of April 19th, 2026, you grab your children and run for the roof of your own house while your 10-year-old son is being shot inside it. You break your pelvis and your hip jumping to the ground. You attend the vigil for the children in a wheelchair. And you post an apology to your children. You say you are sorry you could not save them. Now look at what the systems had. And then there is the detail that should make every person watching this genuinely angry. In March 2026, 1 month before April 19th, the Shreveport City Council sat in a room and voted. They voted to withdraw from a partnership with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office to operate a dedicated domestic violence resource center in this city. They voted. Elected officials in a room made a decision. 1 month later, 8 children were gone. The center they voted to defund existed specifically to intervene in situations like this one. That is not an abstraction. That is not an oversight. That is a choice made by people with names and titles and the specific authority to make it. And they made it 1 month before Cedar Grove's worst morning. Nobody has been asked to answer for that vote. Nobody has resigned. The center is still gone. Shreveport Police Chief Wayne Smith said publicly that the chances were good this was not the first incident of domestic violence inside that home. Prior incidents, unreported. A pattern that existed before April 19th and never entered any official record. The Louisiana Governor's Love One Louisiana Foundation covered all funeral and burial costs for all 8 children. The Community Foundation of North Louisiana launched 2 dedicated funds. Fund for survivor support and one for domestic violence protection resources in the region. The joint funeral for all 8 children is scheduled for May 23, 2026 at the Shreveport Convention Center. All 8 will be buried near each other. The families are waiting until the mothers, particularly Shaniqua, have recovered enough to be fully present. The date is May 23rd, 1 day before Mother's Day. 3 mothers, 8 children, 1 room. The day before a holiday that will never feel the same again for any woman connected to this case. Christina Snow, shot 9 times. A bullet still lodged in her face that doctors decided was too dangerous to remove. Walked out of that hospital and went to the Head Start building where Braylon and Kadarian used to go to school. She stood outside. She held a balloon, and when it was time, she let it go. She did that for children she sometimes wakes up still believing are alive. Her cousin told NBC News directly. There are days she wakes up and tells someone she needs to get her kids ready for school. Those children are not coming home. Shaniqua Poo is still in the ICU as these words are written. She has been seen from her hospital bed resharing videos of herself with her 4 girls. Nobody in that family has figured out the right moment to sit with her through the full weight of what she is going to wake up to every morning for the rest of her life. Keosha Pugh attended the vigil in a wheelchair, broken pelvis and all, and has been sharing details of the upcoming funeral arrangements with the community. Markiana, 12 years old, is home. She survived with scratches on her body and things in her memory that no discharge paper covers. And Troy Brown, whose nephew died in that house while he was at work, said through tears that he would never get to throw a football with the boy again. These were his exact words: 8 babies, precious babies, babies that I helped raise on a daily basis. The investigations are not finished. The ATF firearms trace continues. The Ford and Mayance prosecutions are moving through the federal court system. The full autopsy report has not been publicly released. The formal motive investigation by Shreveport Police Department remains open. This case is not closed, and when any of those 4 investigations produce findings, Twisted Truths will be here to cover every confirmed detail. Soraya Snow was 11 years old. She wanted to open a homeless shelter. Kadarian Snow was 6. His teacher said he lit up every room he entered. Braylon Snow was 5. He and his siblings had been excited about summer camp. Jayla Elkins was 3 years old. Shayla was 5. Kayla was 6. Layla was 7. Marketon Pugh was 10. And his father will spend the rest of his life thinking about a football. 8 children who tried to get out the back door and couldn't. 8 children whose grandmother texted 2 days before asking for a kiss to pass along. 8 children who had a summer ahead of them and plans for it. 8 children who deserved every single year that was taken from them before Cedar Grove finished waking up on what should have been an ordinary Sunday morning in Shreveport, Louisiana. Their names were Soraya, Kadarian, Braylon, Jayla, Shayla, Kayla, Layla, and Markaden. Say them out loud if you can, because the question this case will not let go of is specific, and I genuinely want your answer in the comments. At which point do you believe this could have been stopped? The 2023 death threat that never became a police report? The VA discharge that returned him to unchanged conditions? The stolen Mossberg that Charles Ford stayed silent about for 6 weeks? Or the city council vote that defunded the one resource that existed to prevent exactly this? Pick one. Tell me in the comments. Because the answer tells us which door needs to stay open for the next family. These 8 children deserved every year taken from them. We will be here when the full accounting is written.